The free VFD Suite configuration software makes commissioning your Iron Horse ACN drive so much easier because you can see everything at once. You no longer have to scroll through tons of parameters on the drive's LED display. And you can control the drive, save and load drive configurations, monitor parameters in real time, view data on a trend, and even implement simple control applications using the built-in function block feature. Let's walk through the software to help you get up and running quickly. You can connect to the drive via Modbus RTU using the optional USB to RS-232 cable plugged into the RJ45 jack. Or you can use Modbus TCP or Ethernet IP with a standard Ethernet patch cable and the optional Ethernet communications module. Ethernet communications will be covered in other videos. Now those are the primary methods of connecting, and the cost is about the same for either option, so the choice depends on how you prefer to communicate with your devices and if you need to extend the drive's built-in I/O. The Ethernet module and the extended I/O module use the same option slot, so you can only use one or the other. Of course, if you have a USB to 45 converter like this one, well, just connect the red wired S plus and the green wired S minus, and that'll work too. If this is the last drive in the RS-45 chain, then don't forget to enable the termination resistor. It's this little guy right here, and there's a handy chart showing you how to set it. For this video, we'll use Modbus RTU via this guy because you just plug it in and it works. And it keeps the option module slot available in case we need more I/O. There aren't any surprises when installing the software, so I'm going to assume you know how to do that. I should point out that the first time you install the software, it'll have to install all the Microsoft redistributable libraries, so it can take a few minutes if you don't already have them on your PC. Launch the software. Now, the version I have defaults to this dark theme. That's hard to see on the video, so I'll click on Tools, Options, and change it to a more standard white color. Much better. Back on the Home tab, we want to start a new project, give it a name, a folder to store it in, and I'll give the drive a name. Before we can connect to the drive, we need to go to Settings and tell the software how we want to connect. We want Modbus RTU, and click on this guy to configure it. Select the serial port your USB serial cable is plugged into. If you don't know which port it's using, then bring up your Windows Device Manager and click on Ports. You're looking for this prolific driver. Looks like mine is on COM5, so I'll put that here. These COM settings are what the PC serial port is currently set to. We need to change these to match what the drive expects. 19.2K baud, no parity, 8 data bits, 1 stop bit, no flow control. Click OK and OK. Click on Connect, and in just a second or two, we see this bar turned green to remind us we're connected via Modbus RTU and we're online. You can right-click to rename the project or the drive. Let's change the drive's name to the part number, ACN-21P0. This is a great first stop. It tells you all the basics at a glance. I see my drive model, software versions, and communication method. There's the name of the drive we just typed in, and it's a 1 horsepower drive, so that's right. We can also see the drive is expecting 220 volt 3-phase power. I'm actually running this demo single phase, which is okay because all ACN drives can handle single phase. The drive is currently stopped, and these are the ramps. We'll save applications for another video. This is the best part. You can monitor up to 4 things and see the results graphically in real time. I'll reach over and start the drive, and yep, we see this needle move. If I change the drive's frequency, we see it change in real time right here on the screen. If I hit stop, yep, there it goes. If you don't like the scale range, well, just double click and change it to something more natural, so now when we start to drive, we get a better feel for where we are in the range. And look at all the things you can monitor. How about DC bus voltage? I'll modify his range to 500 volts. Or output power. This is a 1 horsepower drive, so it can do 750 watts. Or how about current? Full load amps on this motor is a little over 3, so I'll set that scale to 4 amps. I love how quick and easy it is to get real-time drive status with this dialog. All of your parameter groups are over here. If you click on the top level, you see all the groups as one giant list of parameters. or you can narrow it down to just the one group you want to deal with. This SPS guy is the top level group with all the basic stuff like acceleration, deceleration, command source, etc. Now here's a tip. Whenever you start the configuration software, go ahead and read the current drive parameters into the workspace. I'm going to fast forward the video because it takes a minute or two over serial comms. Now if you hit Write All, you're just rewriting what's already in the drive and you don't risk overwriting the drive with whatever's in the software. Reading the drive parameters into the workspace first is a really good habit to get into. You can click on values in this right parameter column to change the values you want written to the drive. They turn blue to remind you they haven't been written yet. You would then click on this guy to write everything in bulk. Now I only changed parameters in this group, so I'll select him. Being able to limit groups to write out saves you time, and it also helps prevent the possibility of writing other stuff you weren't expecting. Notice that you can also reset individual groups or even the entire drive by clicking this guy. I'll hit OK, and only the SPS parameters got written. Writing by groups is one of the cool features of this Iron Horse ACN drive family. You can also double-click on any parameter name to see the current workspace value, the default, and max and min values. Click the Read button to read just this one value from the drive, and if you click on the Write button, it only updates this one parameter, not the entire group. That's nice because you can surgically update parameters without having to write the whole group. These arrows scroll through the parameters in this group, so you don't have to keep exiting the dialog and double-clicking on each one separately. This software is really well thought out and designed with the user in mind. And the best part is, if you click on one with options like the command source, you see the options in English. You don't have to remember or look up the codes. Another example, in the input group, suppose you want to configure digital input P3. I'll double-click on that, and yep, we see all the things you can use digital input P3 for. I love that I don't have to remember all those codes. I just pick what I want, and the software takes care of the rest. You can control the drive. Nothing's happening. Why not? Well, when using the RS-232 cable that we're using, the command source has to be set for keypad, and I currently have this drive set up to be controlled by digital inputs, which is the drive's default. If I go to the top level group, command source, and change that to keypad, write it out, close it. Now if I click on Run Forward, yep, the motor starts to spin. Hit reverse, yep, and stop. Perfect. If you're using a 45 cable, then instead of the keypad, you'll want to select the internal 45 port. You can also control the drive over Ethernet. Again, we'll cover that in the video about the Ethernet option module. Of course, you can compare projects, generate reports, customize the display, etc. All the usual stuff you expect to find. Now this guy is important. When you do a normal write, it writes the parameters to the drive's volatile memory. If you want the values to be permanent and be able to survive a power cycle, then you need to write them to the EEPROM. So don't forget to do that when you're done setting things up. And check this out. Under the Tools tab, there's a parameter wizard that for each control mode walks you through a complete setup of your drive. It covers all the motor parameters, torque control, ramps, starting and stopping options, digital inputs, multi-step setup, digital outputs, analog inputs, and analog outputs. Very comprehensive. At the end, it gives you a list of everything you've changed, and you can rerun the wizard or save everything you've done. Finally, my absolute most favorite part of this VFD software is you can view trends of everything you would want to see in the drive in real time while the drive's running. I'm going to break that out into a separate video so we can take the time to see all the cool things it can do. Meanwhile, click here to learn more about the Iron Horse NEMA 4X ACH family of drives. Click here to learn more about Automation Direct's free award-winning support options, and click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll be notified when we publish more videos like this one.